I've been reviewing iPhone cases for like 10 years now, and only recently did I realize how good this product actually is. Only because I can measure drops now. Ooh! This product has always been one of my go-to products. Let's get into it. Now, the Apple silicone case is your typical silicone case. Apple's got a ton of colors that you can choose from. They're always kind of different depending on the version of iPhone you have. This is a silicone case, so it does feel a little tacky, and it's gonna pull the liner out of your pocket really easily, but I would say Apple's finish is probably the best out of all the silicone cases I've tested. On the inside, your iPhone sits on a bed of microfiber, and the microfiber actually goes up the edge of the case. The average case doesn't do that, the microfiber on the edge. When it comes to build quality, generally it's Apple quality, so it's not bad, especially when it comes to silicone case, but there is a noticeable seam along the center of the cases. This normal case has a much more noticeable seam than this Pro Max case. I'm being really picky here, but worth mentioning. When it comes to weight for the Pro Max, this thing weighs 35 grams, which is quite light given the average is around 45. So it's only gonna make your iPhone heavier by about 15%. This thing is 11.7 millimeters thick, so it's a very thin case, so it's only gonna add about 42% extra thickness to your iPhone. The average is around 12 millimeters. Overall, this is a lightweight, barely there case. Now, when it comes to usability and MagSafe, because this is a silicone case, the handling of the product is going to be top notch. Your iPhone's not going to feel like it's going to slip out of your hands like a wet bar. So, and when it comes to button access, the silicone case has integrated buttons, though it looks like they're not, which is kind of neat. Other companies basically cut strips out of the edge of the case to get the feel of the button right. Apple doesn't do that with their silicone case, which is awesome. Port cutout is on the small side, so certain cables will not fit into it. Apple cables definitely will fit, but my Amazon basic cables do not. The camera button is covered, and Apple is one of the very few manufacturers that uses a button that has a lot of vertical give. So pressing the button on this product is very nice. One of the things I will note is that the button doesn't feel as responsive, and that's not the button's fault, it's the silicone case fault, because it's really tacky, smooth, tacky. Other buttons like the clear case, the button feels a lot better because everything's just smooth. So, just keep that in mind. When it comes to MagSafe strength, took about 9 newtons to pull a standard Apple Wallet off, with the average being around 7.5, and 7.4 to push a standard Apple Wallet off, with the average being around 9. Those numbers are a little weird to me because it's usually the other way around, with pull being higher than push. When it comes to rotation, yeah, it doesn't take a lot to rotate it, doesn't even register on my meter. And this case is so thin that the magnets from the iPhone actually helps with the magnetic connection of the case. That doesn't usually happen with cases with thicker backs. All right, let's talk about protection of the silicone case. And this is where I gain a new level of respect for the silicone case. This product is technically a multi-layered case because there's silicone on the outside, there's a polycarbonate shell on the inside, and I guess, fuzzy cloth microfiber makes it tri-layered. Pretty sure fuzzy cloth doesn't do anything for drop protection. The corners of the case are only 1.5 millimeters thick, and with my drop test with the initial impact, it performed better than average, which is surprising given that the corners are so thin. After the initial impact, the resultant force gets transferred to the case mostly rather than the iPhone, and this was a really surprising outcome for me because a lot of other thin cases, especially from Apple, like the clear case as well as the Beats case, are incredibly terrible in terms of drop protection. Now, when it comes to screen protection, this case isn't great. That sounded like part of the screen protector made impact. It only takes 27 newtons to pop an iPhone out of the case when you do this, which is really low. The case edge has about a clearance of about 0.5 millimeter, so yeah, it's like it's not going to slide around, which is kind of nice. You might be able to push your iPhone through the case and have the screen protector eat dirt. Now, when it comes to value, this case is going to set you back $49, with the average case being around $45. You're basically paying for the Apple logo on the case. This thing is expensive for what it is, but you get better than average handling, better than average protection for a thin case. And again, that's the reason why it's one of my go-to cases basically for the last 10 years. I'm on a mission to find the best cases for the iPhone. If this is the first time you're watching my videos, I do encourage you to check out my channel. I've got a playlist with the 10 cases that I would personally use if I wasn't a reviewer, as well as a top 5 video that I think still stands. So get your stuff through my links. No one's paying me to make this video. Apple's not paying me. That's kind of all I got. Thanks for watching.